Good evening. Tonight I'm going to do a fairly quick book review. This one was by Tony Giggs, I believe it is, and that is the awesome power of social media. How social media has changed everything. It's an interesting book, but I did my review on it, and my review um, was not positive. There was some good information in it, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But as my review kind of pointed out, and I've got it posted on Goodreads already, and I just put it up on Amazon, so that should be approved shortly. I had to give it a 1 star. It was painful to read through this book. It almost made my did not finish list, just because of where it was at. And where I'm coming from on this is a couple things. One, it was very fragmented. It looked like some of the information was pulled from other areas. The example I use here is that there was a couple places where they talked about medical practice or patients, or there was some kind of reference there to medical, but there was no indication that this book was being written from a medical standpoint. So I don't know where that was coming from and where it got thrown in. It just was really disjointed from that. Some of the other pieces just didn't flow well, and then there were some grammar issues in there as well. Now, for a first write for to get kind of like a brain dump down and to get the information out there, this might have had some value to it, but I really didn't see the value for a finished product. It really needed to be cleaned up. I Again, this was one of the free books I picked up off of Amazon, so I didn't pay for it, but it looked like it had some value. I like looking at social media stuff. It's one of the things I like working on. I did pull some things out of the book. There were some data points, but because of the other writing on it, I think he'd used some good sources, but I got questioning as I got further into the book and I was seeing where they're pulling those pieces, where that information um, was coming from. So he had some different stats. I did highlight those for my reference later on. So that was good information there. There were some good quotes or kind of comments in it. Conversation. One of the main differences to traditional marketing is the form of communication. Talks about community. Social media is a tool that makes communication and forming of communities easy and effective. So as I've said with a lot of these reviews that I'm starting to work on, it, there's gems in here, and unfortunately, sometimes you have to kind of dig through them, kind of like a diamond in the rough, to get to it. And that's the way I felt about this book. I really wish that they would go through, clean it up a little bit more. It could be a much better product than it is. With that being said, so I'm the only person that's reviewed it on Goodreads. So I went out, and when I went to do my review on Amazon, I noticed that there were 3 customer reviews on it, and if I look at those reviews, they're all 5 stars, and I'm really struggling. Looks like my review got published. So the other 3 that are on here, I'm really struggling with these. So as I said, the book is awesome. Learn things from this book. Highly appreciable book. I found this book to be very informative for both beginners and those with an intermediate learner status. How to acquire all the to-do information needed. Um, there was no to-do information in this book that I was saying. It really talked about um, more of a descriptive standpoint in the book, and how the book was kind of talking about social media. So from that standpoint, it was there, but there wasn't to do information. So I've always questioned on some of the books when you get a 5 star review. Um, where are these coming from? Uh, I mean, maybe give it a 4 or something. There was just a lot to struggle through on these books. So to give it a 5 star and to see 3 of them in here, that really is challenging to me. But in any case, that's my review. I've got my review written up there. There's some good information in here, but it's a book that I really can't recommend unless a new edition comes out that they've really cleaned up. You're just going to struggle if you try and read through it. So that's my review of The Awesome Power of Social Media. I've got a couple other books keyed up that I'm working on. So if I go over to my books and let's see what it says I'm currently reading. I think I've got about 3 or 4 that I've been looking at. It says 8, but again, as I've explained before with the Kindle, quite often as soon as I open them up, it marks them as being read. And the 2 that I've really been focusing on recently are the habit stacking, the 150 habits for improved productivity. So I've been looking at that. That one I've been struggling a little bit. A lot of good information in there, but it's really chunked up into sections. So I've been struggling with that. And then the YouTube growth hacking, I've been taking a look at and working through that as well. And I'll share some of the information that's in that book. So those will be coming up, and hopefully I'll get those reviews out shortly. Of course, I have to finish the books first, so we'll get that taken care of and get those out. Have a great evening.